Theological Seminary, since its establishment by the Global Evangelical Church in 1991 for the training of pastors and other church workers within and outside the church. Global Theological Seminary begin a new foundation of public lecture which comes before the graduation ceremony. The rector of the seminary, Reverend Dr. Komi A. Hiabge, urged the Christian bodies to always ready to create an enabling environment that will emulate Christ in their conduct and discipline in order to make a society a better place to live. He said,
Public lecture we are instituting in relation to our graduation ceremonies. We've had 8 graduations so far, but without a public lecture. But from this year on, we've decided that each year that we shall have graduation, it must be preceded by a public lecture. And so this is the maiden public lecture in relation to our graduation ceremonies. Essentially, the public lecture is to share with the public our concerns as theologians or theological institutions, what we are thinking of the church, the direction in which we expect church membership to go. So it's more or less bringing the seminary into the public sphere. And we want to do that each year. We shall be selecting topics that are relevant to our mission as seminaries and mission as churches. Message to Ghanaians is that one, we should be prayerful. It is God who chooses leaders, and for God to choose a leader for Ghana, I believe He's counting on us, the Christian community, to call on Him and ask that He directs each and every one of us into His will for this country, that we will choose a leader who is after the heart of God. We expect peace, and we will encourage our political leaders to also do same. That as they lead us, they should not incite us to violence, but rather encourage that we conduct ourselves peacefully before, during, and then after the elections.
An area that's having a global impact, this Global Theological Seminary. And so we have cooperated with the seminary in training a total of 42 graduates with a master's degree that'll be working in churches. And this new cooperation brings together people across the continent in an educational model which I think is forward-looking, where our faculty are learning a lot about Africa and the students are learning a lot about global theology from a very international faculty. And so my lecture here today is one way of looking into the type of theological education that we look for in the future. Focusing on is Christian identity is what I call cruciform apostolicity, which means it's formed in the likeness of Christ, suffering for others and for the world, and then sent out. Now, if that's the essence of Christianity and Christian life, then when we write church history, we should write it with that understanding. We ask different questions than if we were writing about the history of a business or a bank. And so by knowing that is sort of the essence of Christianity, that's the way we write history, and that's what we look for in history. Attention to the differences and the cultures and the divisions in the world, and recognize that through Jesus Christ they can be reconciled. I would argue that the only way we can ultimately be reconciled is through Christ, because He understood the great division between people, was ready to die that others would come to faith in Him in unity. So the essence of my message is from Revelation 7, many languages, one Lamb, and no tears. So from the many different languages and ethnic groups and tribes in the world, we come together centered on Jesus Christ. So He is the one Lamb that brings us together. But then we have a mission to go out and to wipe away every tear from the eyes of the people. We need to work hard at literacy and reading. And I think more books about Jesus, about the church, about church history need to be written by Ghanaians now. because the church in Africa is so much stronger than it ever has been in the history of Christianity. And there's a desperate need for Ghanaians to read books written by their own people with their own perspective. What we can do in partnership is kind of build on what we've done before and sort of pass on the baton, and now at the same time learn back from Ghanaians' writing. But I think that we should always encourage people to read, because today, with the iPhone and with the internet, it's very easy to just kind of quickly skip through and read like bumper stickers. But we need to think deeply. In order to think deeply, we have to read longer books and articles, and we need to work at that discipline.
Thank you for watching Nation One TV. Kindly subscribe for more news updates.